Welcome, one and all, to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Moving from winter into spring. Yes, that's not actually a thing in South Florida. It's just always spring/summer. But the different weather patterns do affect our homes. The different levels of rain do affect our homes. And us living our lives affect our homes because we just don't pay attention. We don't notice things around the house. However, if you do see something around your home or office, don't wait. Give Water Cleanup of Florida a call, 954-579-0356. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They will be there to answer, set up a time, and come out and check out whatever issues you have. Plus, because they have licensed, insured, certified contractors, they'll fix it and make it look brand new. Most water companies like that will be able to fix it. They'll be able to get the job done. But will they make it look brand new in a timely fashion? And be there throughout the process to make it nice and easy. We've all dealt with service industry companies. They all do their best, but aren't always communicative. They aren't always easy to work with. They don't always leave you feeling better after. Usually feel a lot worse. Well, Water Cleanup of Florida, my wife and I did work with them, and the entire process was tremendous. And at the end of it, we were happy. We found them. You will be too. 954-579-0356. Check them out on their website, WCUFL.com. WCUFL.com. Check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. I'm telling you, check out their Google as well. It's not just my wife and I. Lots and lots of people are very happy with Water Cleanup of Florida. Over 75-star reviews. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. Lots of teams had the guts at the trade deadline. The league seems very hard to recognize when you see Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving on the West Coast. You see earlier this season, in the offseason, Donovan Mitchell sitting there on an Eastern team. The New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson. A lot has happened from the offseason to this season to the trade deadline. The Miami Heat, we're not in any of that. We talked with Grant Long, longtime Heat player, longtime NBA analyst, now an analyst with the Detroit Pistons, but he covers and pays attention to the league at large. We talked with him about all that's gone on around the NBA in this more than first half, this first, I guess, 2/3 of the season, first three quarters of the season. And we do talk about the Miami Heat and a guy that he covered very closely with his time with the Oklahoma City Thunder here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
We welcome to the show the great Grant Long, original member of the Miami Heat, and, of course, a 15-year career in the NBA, and now a member of the Detroit Pistons broadcast team, and just a great guy. Grant, how are you, my friend? How's it going?
Hey, man, if I was doing any better, somebody would come and arrest me. That's how good I'm doing. It's a crime to be doing.
No, it's great. I mean, this was unusual. I mean, when did the NBA become the National Hockey League? You're expecting like Wild West type of stuff, in the NHL where they have like 4-team, 18-player transactions. But when did this start happening in the NBA? Could you believe all of the different things that took place by the trade deadline?
You know what? It is kind of unbelievable because when you go back in the history of the NBA, there's always been trades, but it's always been sort of the fringe players that you thought would be traded.
Yeah.
Now, no one's immune. The blockbuster, there's a blockbuster deal every year, every offseason. The marquee guys are moving. And that's one of the things that, to me, that's unheard of. We're seeing guys move who are talking about turning franchises around by going to the next team. And that typically doesn't happen. Those are the guys who are usually safe, but that's not the case anymore.
Yeah. I used to love it, man. It would be like you would see a transaction. It would be in the agate type. Nobody would really be talking about it. There was, no Woj or whatever. And, it would say that John Concac had been traded for, two guys that were deceased who had expiring contracts. And that was it. I mean, now you got Durant with the Phoenix Suns. I mean, you had the Lakers go through an overwhelming overhaul, including unloading Russell Westbrook, who I actually thought, I don't know why. I mean, did you think Russell Westbrook was a completely shot fighter, Grant Long, or was maybe just not a great fit with the Lakers? I watched him. I mean, the last I saw of him, I saw a snippet of Laker action. They were beating I believe it was the Knicks in overtime. And in that overtime period, Westbrook makes like 4 successive plays that were brilliant, feeding off for baskets that allowed the Lakers to end up winning that game at Madison Square Garden. Did you think that he was a completely shot fighter? What do you think was wrong there with Westbrook in L.A.?
Well, here's what the Lakers can't do no longer. They can't blame him for the trouble.
No,
that's true.
He
That's true.
was the scapegoat for the entire season, so he's gone now. So they've got to really stand up. But you know what? Here's the thing about Russell's timeline. He signed a 5-year extension, I believe, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously 5 years ago, and proceeded to have 5 different teams after he signed that one.
Amazing.
And
yeah.
For a guy who was the MVP, who led the league in triple doubles, passed Oscar Robertson, all of those things, you would think he could find a home on an NBA roster and stay there and make that team better. But from my estimation, he became the scapegoat for just about every team that he went to. Now, I saw this guy come into the league as a rookie and felt like he was a guy that could turn your franchise around. He's the Bill Laimbeer in my estimation of guards. And what I mean by that is, if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, it's like, we don't want that guy. We don't like him. But if he's on your team, he's all for you. He's the best teammate that you can have. And he goes all out for his team and his teammates. He's one of those throwback guys, and I know this personally, that you see a lot of guys now playing buddy ball. They're friends. They don't have – it's no rivalry, so to speak. If you're on Russell's team, he's one of those guys that says, hey, don't talk to those guys. They're the enemy. And I like that about him. But I guess it rubs a lot of other people the wrong way.
Look, Grant, and you cover the NBA closer than we do. You've been around it closer than we do. We've seen it transformed. Pretty much everyone on your 5-man lineup at the time on the court has to be able to shoot. Like, literally, that's what it's come to. In the past, you've had guards that were Hall of Famers. Look, John Stockton was an elite shooter. John Stockton was he got pretty good at that mid-range jumper, but he wasn't looking to score. He didn't even care about scoring, and it's funny, Russell Westbrook still can get to the basket almost as well as he always could. He still distributes. He's not a sieve on defense. He actually rebounds pretty well. So you would think there'd be a place for that, but he was already an okay shooter. He's now become a horrible shooter that he's become it's funny, but he's become a detriment to teams. And we're down here in Miami, the Heat need a guard. They not even to shoot. They just need a guard to help facilitate desperately. And I still wonder if Russell Westbrook would fit. As a guy that covers the league this closely and knows Westbrook, do you see him fitting anywhere? Because you just said it. You used to love him on your team, hate him on the opponent, and now even his own teams hate him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's
there,
true,
Lubie,
they do.
Yeah, when you think about the Miami Heat, they could. Oh man, he would be a perfect fit. And if there's anybody that could, get this guy to conform, if you will, because now you're talking about a guy who's in his 30s and probably still feels like he can turn a team around, which I think he can, but maybe not the way he did when he was 25 or 26. So, and he started to adapt to that role. Remember, he came off the bench for the Lakers after a whole lot of going back and forth. He embraced the fact that he was going to come off the bench and did well when he started coming off the bench. So he's already climbed that hurdle of realizing that he's not what he used to be, but he can still help in a reserve capacity. Hey, he's a plug-and-play type of guy. If you're the Miami Heat, why not go get this guy? And the Miami Heat have somebody that no other organization has. They have Pat Riley, and Pat Riley can get anybody to do anything. I tell you what, if I'm Russell Westbrook and Pat Riley calls me, I'm coming. I'm coming right away because he's a guy that knows basketball. He knows winning basketball, championship basketball. If you can do it for Pat Riley, you can do it for anybody.
All right. The biggest of the blockbusters was the Phoenix Suns getting the services of Kevin Durant. Sean Marks, by the way, in Brooklyn has to feel like Harpo Marks at this point. I mean, a year ago, he had this sweetheart trio. James Harden, it was going to be great. Kyrie Irving, who got shipped to Dallas, and we'll get into that. It was going to be great. Had Durant on the team, and they were all dedicated to make Brooklyn. Now, my birthplace, a basketball institution. And, they needed, talk about lack of institutional control. All of those guys are gone now. And what does Durant do for the Suns? A lot of people said they immediately become the favorite in the West, which I'm not sure I'm willing to make that concession. But what do you think, Grant Long?
I think it puts them right at the top. He puts them right at the top. Now, he won't do it himself, but given the fact that Devin Booker is hurt, and we don't know, what his status is and how well he'll bounce back from his injury. But when you put Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and a long in the tooth but still very effective Chris Paul, those three guys, when you look at the West and the landscape over there, that's a pretty formidable trio that you're going to have to contend with. In a series, I wouldn't take money on them that they're going to lose. When you think about Golden State, to me, is still the team with their experience. They're the team to beat. But now that Kevin Durant is on the Phoenix Suns, boy, it sure makes them very, very good. Can't forget about Denver also. Everybody
Denver. I was going to say Denver.
But yeah, you can't just dismiss Denver and what they've been able to accomplish.
Talking with Grant Long here. I find it surprising. I happen to be in a sports book in Atlantic City
it's a shock.
Last couple of nights, and I did see Devin Booker was playing for the Suns. Durant was applauding as Booker put on a sensational display, as if he had not been impaired at all by injury. So I guess he has bounced back, and I'll be looking forward to
very quickly after that trade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's okay. And Aiden, I mean, is a strange commodity, Grant Long, because I don't know why he fell into such disfavor with the coach at the end of last year. But I mean, he essentially became like almost a DNP CD there in the postseason, where you think he would have been, most, valuable to the team. And now this year, though, he's having a great year.
Yeah, and I don't know if the relationship with the coach has been repaired or just put on hold for the sake of the team. We don't know those ins and outs of it, but he is certainly playing a much better brand of basketball. And to me, he's the guy, when you go up against Golden State, when you go up against the Denver Nuggets, he's the guy that's going to help you win against those teams. Because if he doesn't come to play, despite what Kevin Durant and Devin Booker do, they're still going to be in trouble if DeAndre Ayton is not playing at the top of his game, because he can be a good defender. He's a very good pick and roll and pick and pop player. So they're going to need him to be at the top of his game if they're going to contend in the West. And let us not forget, the Dallas Mavericks without Kyrie Irving made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. So you add Kyrie Irving, that certainly has to give them a shot in the arm.
Would you want to play with Kyrie Irving? Grant Long.
Well,
you're with the original Heat, and they acquire a guy that is Kyrie Irving. If we could, send him back in a time capsule, would you be a fan of being on his team?
Listen, I could play with the guy if he's going to play. I need to know, what your commitment is to the team. All of the outside interests, you can have all those, but I need to know what your commitment is to the team. He made a statement one day when he was with the Brooklyn Nets. He said, "We've got to get to know each other. We've had so many guys out of the lineup." Well, and he was the only guy that was out of the lineup. He was the only guy. So, you talk about familiarizing yourself with your teammate. You got to. He wasn't with the team. He didn't travel. He didn't go to practice. Hey, are you committed to this team or not? So, that would be my concern. How committed are you with this team? And we're going to find out. We're going to find out how committed he is. And I think I said this before, that Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, I think he's savvy enough to say, I'll pull the trigger on this deal, and I'm going to, if you earn a contract, it'll be incentive heavy. It'll be games played heavy in order for you to earn your money, because, you had a tendency to go missing here for, 30, 40 games, and I can't have that.
Look, and I know with different eras, the game's not only played differently, the rules are different, it's officiated different, and then the way the players attack the game itself is different. So I get this era with the missing of games, it's totally nothing like what you played in. But even the fact that as much as this game has evolved, Grant, I look at the fact that, they showed this stat down here a few weeks ago, and it was funny. Dwayne Wade, there was a season we thought he missed a ton of games, and he played 70. A guy playing an entire season now would play 70. What do you do with that as a league? And this is becoming more and more of a deal as even LeBron, who never missed games, missing games. If your guy plays 62, you're happy. And I don't know what you do with that. It seems a little ridiculous and ludicrous. And I don't know how the NBA mandates it. Look, they've tried to space out the back-to-backs and have less back-to-backs, and they've tried to make the season longer, and it doesn't matter. And to me, as a person who's sitting back watching the game, I don't get it. And Defo makes fun of me, but I used to love the NBA regular season, the whole thing. I don't get in the NBA now till well after the All-Star break, because to me, I don't know who's good and bad, even when we have standings, because no one plays.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on that one, Louis, because I'm thinking about the great Michael Jordan, and I think there was a stat out there that he played all 82 games like 8 or 9 seasons.
Yep.
And, you know, you think about how great he was as a player, how much energy he put out there every night. To play a full season, you know, 9, 10 times of his 14 or 13 years, that's very, very impressive. Like I said, he carried the load every single night, and yet he was able to suit up for all 82 games. A lot of times. That was unheard of. That's unheard of now.
Yeah.
I even noticed that the term from 3 or 4 years ago, load management. They don't use it anymore. COVID provided an excuse because now guys are missing games, and all they put in the small type is it's non-COVID related. Okay,
yes.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Non-COVID related. So now you can't throw out the load management. You don't throw the load management term out there because it was met with a lot of chagrin. So they just found a way to still rest players, so to speak, and call it non-COVID related. So I don't get it. And I'm from a player perspective, I want to play every night, every chance I get. And because what I do understand is that window is very short, guys. There's going to come a time where you can't play. There's going to be somebody else in your spot, and the coach is going to sit you on the bench in your uniform, and you're not going to play because you don't have the skill or the talent, or this time has passed you by. So you better load up on those games now and play as much as you can, because the opportunity to do it won't last a lifetime. It won't last, 10, 12 seasons. Guys don't do that anymore. Your opportunity to play in that window is very short. So that would be my take on it. I want to play as much as I can. And I'm not dodging anybody. I want your best game, whether it's my 4th game in 5 nights. I want your best game, and you're going to get my best game. That's being competitive.
Were you still a member of the Heat when Ronnie Cycli had that Asian flu that knocked him out of like half a season? How contagious was that? I mean, where was Dr. Fauci then? He missed like half the year with like the flu. It was incredible. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that bug was kind of flying. I think that bug stayed at his house. I don't know. That bug just kind of hovered around his house over there on Star Island.
All right, now who's doing the math on the length of the season here? Because how is it that the All-Star game is played after 60 games are already in the books? What do you make of that? What happened to like 41, 42, somewhere in there, like a month ago? We should have had this game being played.
Maybe the logistics, it just didn't work out. They couldn't get everybody to Utah, Park City, Utah, and maybe the ski lodge wasn't open yet. I don't know what the case may be, but you're right. It's typically right around the 42, 43, 44 type game mark. Here we are with just about 20, 24 games left in the season, and we're having an All-Star game. It's unheard of.
And nobody wants to play.
No one wants to play.
Now, I mean, are you still a fan of and this has happened in baseball also, where the ancillary events, became more important than the game itself. Like people are more into the home run derby than they are of the actual All-Star game.
100%.
The All-Star game in the NBA has always been, you would have to say, not exactly what Bobby Knight would hold up, in game film as the epitome of defense. So it's a little bit bogus, the way the game is contested. Are you still a big fan of the slam dunk and the 3-point shooting competition?
You know what? I used to think that creativity in the slam dunk contest is what really gets it.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, the guys are going just a little bit too far left with this thing now as far as being creative.
It's a woke society out there, Grant. Yeah.
Okay. You do all of this hype stuff, anticipating this great dunk because of what's going on before you even do the dunk, and then you miss the dunk because you get.
Yeah.
So there's a guy last year with some boots on, and thought he was going to jump at 360. How is that possible? You got some 6-pound boots on. I just think that, like I said, I agree with the creativity, but At the end of the day, you got to dunk the basketball. And I think that's what a lot of guys are missing. They're so caught up on the creativity that the dunk itself is less impressive because they're trying to be so creative. I mean, obviously Blake Griffin jumping over the car, that was nice.
Yeah.
Some Dwight Howard dunking on a 12 or 13-foot basket, that was impressive. That to me might have been one of the best dunk contests when Dwight Howard and I think it was Aaron Gordon from Orlando when those guys really got creative and put on a show. That might have been the best one that I had seen in a long time, but I don't think I've seen any that compares to that since then.
I like when short guys were in the dunk. You know,
that was great.
Like Muggsy Bogues would win the thing, or
Robinson.
You're thinking, wow. For some reason, being a Jewish kid, that you could not slip a piece of paper under my vertical leap. It was always impressive to me when the short guys could actually jam the basketball. Plus, they had the problem of having smaller hands. I think it was in Miami, and I would imagine this was on the night when Mike Tyson got knocked out by Buster Douglas, and there was a big buzz around, and they had the three-point shooting contest, and like Larry Bird was in it. They had a lot of illustrious guys, and people, the top guys were still in the dunk, and I think it was Billy Thompson. But was he, not with the Heat at the time, that tried to dunk like either 2 or 3 basketballs on one move?
It was 2.
Yeah,
it was 2 basketballs he dunked. I remember that very well.
Did he complete that one? I mean, and he had one of them was like an ABA ball, so it was like really, really cool. That was fun back then, though. I mean, it was more raw, simple stuff than some of the spectacular things that you see today, where they got trampolines and all kinds of things. You don't know if you're watching a dunk contest or Rihanna doing a halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Levitating above the crowd.
Yeah. I mean, just a levitation trick is always a good one, If you're trying to entertain people, that's for sure. And I've been looking at some results. I always think of you, and I actually had Romulus High School on my mind yesterday for some reason, thinking, wow, we should get into some NBA conversation with Grant Long. And the Detroit Pistons, though, every time I see the results, it's not looking too favorable. Swimming kind of in a sea of red ink, as I am financially. What's going on there with Detroit? Anything shaking that we can look, and see like a little positive sign down the road?
Well, they're aiming for that draft pick one more time.
They have a lot of those.
I wouldn't call it tanking, but we're the best at being the worst at this point. So,
oh, geez, yeah.
And the prize for that, now you keep in mind, there is a prize for being the worst.
Yeah, Wembanyama is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a prize for being the worst. So and that guy is out there. We've got a team full of young guys. Listen to this, guys. We've got the last 5 years on our team. We've got the number 1, 2 number 2 picks, a number 6 pick, and a number 4 pick, I believe, are all on the Detroit Pistons right now, by way of picking or by way of trade.
Oh God,
they're all on the Pistons team right now. The last 3 or 4 years, they've got the number 2 and number 1 picks on their team. So they're young. It's a very young team, but at some point you got to start putting some talent on there and not just a lot of young guys. And I think that's what the issue is with Troy Weaver, the Pistons general manager. He's got to find a way to put some veteran guys on there and not just guys that are good locker room guys. You got to take a chance on some people that can still play and mesh with these younger guys, or it's not going to work. You just can't have a team full of young guys because they don't have the experience to win. And right now the Pistons are so young, they just do not have the experience to win. Some of the things that they do, turning the ball over in close game possession or in the fourth quarter where they can't score, that's a trait that's inherent to being young. So you can't even be mad about it because you have to expect young teams to turn the ball over, to throw it out of bounds, to throw it to the other team almost like they were playing with those guys, not make baskets, not be ready to play. All the things that are inherent to being young, the Pistons are experiencing right now. So you've got to add some veteran guys who can still play. And I think that's the task for Troy Weaver this offseason.
Those are many of the same themes that Lubie was complaining about when he was coaching a bunch of 8-year-olds.
I was going to say, I'm having flashbacks.
Sounded like an experience he had when he was a Red Auerbach of the Tiny Tots League. Going to be an exciting race there for that number 1 pick. And what is this guy, like the 7'5" guy that shoots threes like he was Dirk Nowitzki and can go to the basket, defends as if he was the second coming of Clifford Ray. I mean, this is going to be some race with Detroit and Charlotte, and of course the Houston Rockets, who do a fine job of screwing things up. They might be my leaders in terms of the ability to tank. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Brandon, always a pleasure, my friend. A lot of fun and great insight
right,
as always. You be well. It sounds like you're doing great, and we thank you so much for being with us here on the program. It's always a pleasure.
hey guys, enjoy your day.
All right, we'll do. Grant Long, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it has been a very interesting NBA first three. I mean, we're 60 games in, so it's not half. The All-Star break usually isn't always exactly at 41 games, but it's usually closer to like 44, 45 games. The Heat have played like 60 games. The Heat literally have 22 left. It's like a third of the season left, or a quarter of the season left. But at this point, it has been interesting. You've seen the Knicks hang around, and the Knicks are now sitting in the 6th seed. The Cavs are the 4th seed. You've seen the Nets rise and fall. You've now seen the Suns go from a team that looked disappointing to a team that's playing better, and now with the addition of Kevin Durant could be scary. You've seen the Warriors struggle. You've seen the Lakers be a sort of disaster where they've made tons of moves. It's hard to know who's on their team, and they haven't made any movement in the standings with LeBron and Anthony Davis now really not playing a lot the last couple of weeks, last month or so. So it's been a really interesting and strange NBA first half, or first three quarters, or first 2/3, and it's been sort of for the Miami Heat. They wanted to do a lot in the offseason, did nothing. Wanted to do a lot before the trade deadline, did nothing. Their bench is a disaster. They have struggled. Look, what's funny is Bam has taken that step that we all wanted to. Offensively, he's aggressive, and he is the best all-around defender in the NBA. Jimmy Butler is playing best basketball of his career. Like, the dude is legit, night in, night out, playing big. They get no help from anyone. Like, no one. Like, Lowry, I get maybe he isn't the same dude that was in Toronto, but he's totally useless, and now he's hurt and he's bitter and whatever he's dealing with. Oladipo's come back from injury, played decent, and is now injured again. Vincent's better, but Tyler Hero looked good, and then the last month plus wasn't good, and the last week plus has been hurt. It's literally Bam, Butler, and no one else. And that's the problem with Miami Heat. And when it looked like, they take on a Nets team that got rid of all their stars, and you can be a half game out of the 5th seed going into the All-Star break. The Heat lose by double digits to this Nets team, allowing Mikal Bridges, who's a nice player but not a great player, to have 45 points and almost a triple-double. And the Heat now find themselves 2.5 back of the Nets and a half behind the Knicks in the 7th spot. It has been another disaster for the Miami Heat. Kevin Love, look, it's a guy that a decade ago would have been great for the Heat to get. I don't know what he is, but you think he can still shoot a 3, and he can take some pressure off of Bam at the 4 spot, the stretch 4, quote-unquote. He's going to get bought out by the Cavs, so maybe he joins the Heat and helps their front court. Russell Westbrook, it's funny. He doesn't help their shooting, and then he's shooting desperately. And it's not like he's the greatest passer, quote-unquote, facilitator, quote-unquote. However, he always has good assist numbers. He can still get to the basket, and they need help off the bench from the point guard spot. They just do. Vincent may start more. Lowry would be that bench guy. Lowry's useless. Oladipo can run the point, but he's more of a 2, more of a combo guard. Like Russell Westbrook, for whatever you want, he's horrendous shooting. Horrendous. But he can get to the basket, and he can't facilitate. And he's not a total sieve defensively, and he's a decent rebounder. I've never wanted the Heat to get a Westbrook or a Harden, I'm not going to lie. But if Westbrook now this would be, the 2nd or 3rd spot where, because the Lakers, he's sort of a bench guy. Now, I guess with the Jazz, he's sort of considered a bench guy. So he now realizes he's a bench guy. So if you can go to the Heat and be like a bench guy and give them some lift off the bench, which they need desperately, I'm not totally against him getting Russell Westbrook. So we'll see what happens with the buyout market as the Heat look to make a move there since they've made no moves anywhere else. I still think they can get to that 5th, 4th spot and get through the first round, but they are not the contender they were last year. And I'm curious what they're able to do in this upcoming offseason to get back to that place. We will talk more about that and so much more sports tomorrow on our Degenerate Friday. Check us out 7 to 9 a.m. on South Florida Live, the Defo Show with Lubie. Check out our Believe Network. I had a really interesting conversation with Lisa Guerrero. Yes, that Lisa Guerrero, silent reporter from Monday Night Football. Been with ABC, CBS, Best Damn Sports Show. Now been with Inside Edition for a long time. Has a new book out, Warrior, My Path to Being Brave. Really interesting story and really interesting conversation. So check that out. The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And check us out here with our South Florida content, The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?